Historical data shows that women re-entering the workforce struggle to land interviews and find flexible work opportunities. And now with COVID, millions of women have been driven out of the workforce, many of whom are concerned about returning to traditional work environments. Our guest saw the need to connect companies with diverse, non-technical talent and help women jump back into their careers. And she created a career and staffing platform designed to host more flexible job opportunities for women looking to stay in or rejoin the workforce. Oh yeah, everybody, it's Fab Female Founder Friday on the Startup Life Live show. How about all those alliterations? Yikes. See you on the other side. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Startup Life Live show. I'm your host, Andy Lyons, four-time founder and startup champion to founders around the world. And after raising 4 businesses of my own, I now share founder startup stories to help newly minted business owners find the solutions and inspiration they need to succeed. So thank you for carving out time to tune in and up your founder game while cheering on a fellow founder. It's so wonderful that you're here live or via replay. And for those of you watching, please click the like button wherever you're watching, because we are live right now on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. And your liking the video helps get the word out. And if you would share this link, you also can get the word out even more and help more other founders get the information, tips, tools, resources they need to help them succeed. So thank you for supporting the show in that generous way. And oh, by the way, you YouTube viewers, if you haven't already subscribed, please, thank you so much. It really helps the channel reach more startup founders around the world. So I'm so excited to introduce you to our guest, Delphine Carter. She's the founder of Boulo. Okay, so it's Boulo Solutions. It's a beautiful name, and it's a career and staffing platform designed to host more flexible job opportunities for women looking to stay in or rejoin the workforce. And many of us have been there, right? Can we get a high five here in the comments? Many of us have been there. So Boulo has this beautiful name, and it means, it's from the French word for gig work, which I just love that, something fierce. And Boulo builds a 360-degree profile to highlight not only professional experience, but also personal history, soft skills, and other unique experiences acquired during a nonlinear career path. And we all know about those nonlinear career paths. So Boulo also works to place women in project-specific part-time or even permanent positions. Jobs on the platform include roles in marketing, project management, financial services, accounting, and product management. And great news, female founders, you're going to love hearing this. Our guest recently closed a successful seed round with the one and only Zane Ventures. I am so excited to get all the details from Delphine. Let's bring her into the room. Yay, Delphine, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing me in.
Oh, I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Your background is so fascinating. Everything that you're doing is so it's so spot on to a need and a problem that needed solving. But before we go there, where are you hailing from today?
I'm actually in Birmingham, Alabama. We had a rough night with some storms coming through, but it is a gorgeous day today.
Excellent. And so any of the viewers, hang in there. If there's some little technology wobbleness, that part of the world really gets hit with some extreme weather. And we may not have this, the ideal connection, but we are going to surf the internet waves and hope for the best. I'm going to say hi to one of my favorite marketing folks right here, Vicki O'Neill Carroll. She, by the way, is a phenomenal small business marketing person. You small businesses, you need to bring someone like Vicki on board to help you with your marketing. We can't figure out this stuff on our own. And hey, tuning in from YouTube, Janisam Ada, hey, how about you? Don't know who you are, but I'm so happy you're here. Tell us a little more about yourself. And if you have a startup, throw that website URL into the comment threads and leave a one-liner while you're at it. And okay, Vicki, this is great. Glad you're okay. Yes.
I appreciate that.
Agree 100%. We see those storm clouds hanging out over there in Alabama, and we're all just like, please let it all work out. So, Delphine, I don't know how I found you. I think I was just watching some amazing things going on Instagram. I don't know, but I said, this woman is doing amazing things. Tell everybody what you were doing, though, before you saw this problem, that you could see there were these diverse employees and wanting to have better workplace, workforce, return to work opportunities. What called you about reentering the workplace?
It was my story is our two-sided marketplace, really. So I was a product manager for SaaS software. Really enjoyed it, launching new products, working on features for legacy solutions. It was just a great experience. But I was constantly looking for people to just kind of plug and play, tight budget. And I'd try to get resumes from our people team. And I just kept seeing the same people over and over again. And then that weekend I'd be at a ball field and there'd be a mom sitting next to me who had the exact skills that I needed. And she was lamenting that she couldn't get back into the workforce, or that she was drowning in a job that wasn't allowing for flexibility and she needed something. And then on the other side, I was a mom of two. I am a mom of two still. And they were little. And so I was the one driving around on two wheels that you were probably about to flip off, because I'm just like cutting people off, just trying to get everywhere. And I had actually worked for a company that allowed me to go part-time. So I worked 30 hours a week. And I won the company award that week. It's a peer that year. It's a peer nominated award. And that told me that just because you're working less than 40 hours does not mean you cannot be a key contributor to a company. So my passion was, I know you can work efficiently in less than 40 hours. I know there's women out there who just aren't getting surfaced. Let's start solving this.
See, I love that. And how many women do you know out there? Folks, raise your hand. You know that you can get your 40-hour work week done in 30 hours.
Yeah.
We're very efficient workers. And it's not so much that we multitask, because we know that's not always good, but we're efficient in how we pull things together, right?
That's exactly it. And it's not multitasking, because you're right. I think we've got an ability to focus in tight, knock it out, and move on. And so most of us could out strategy or out logistic FedEx, right? Like we know exactly what to do with really tight timelines and how to get it done. And so it isn't always multitasking. It is just being able to sit down, focus, knock it out, move to the next thing. And so we call it prime time. 8 to 3 is prime time. That's when everybody's really working, right? After that, before that, it's just not.
And if you have kids, there's no calling you between 5 and 7, just saying, everybody. Right?
AM or PM.
That's the witching hour. You might not get a friendly voice during those hours because there's cacophony going on. And so I love it. So this is what made you uniquely qualified to found Boulo Solutions, because you had the insight, you saw you yourself outperformed, your peers voted for you as being the one who kicked butt that year and really nailed it. And it was a 30-hour week. So you knew that this was a problem that needed solving. And folks, when you are raising money or bringing folks into your company, it's really important that you continually share how qualified you are to be the founder. And this is why the investors or anybody joining your team likes to know that you have what it takes. And if you don't have that, what we call the market founder fit, you can get your skills up and fix that, of course. And that's why too, and we'll be talking about this later on the slides, you really need to have your team information right up front so you can take that white elephant out of the room. So thank you for letting us know why you're uniquely qualified, Delphine, to be doing this. And so how did you begin the process? Because this is a tech company. right? It's a tech platform.
Yeah.
You had to pull things. And I know that you were doing product development for SaaS. So you had some nice exposure there.
I did. I knew how to build products. I knew how to do all of the research, and doing that research in the beginning, the user research, the problem research, competitor research, all of that really is the key part. And I think a lot of people fast track it. So I had a product that I tried to launch and fail. It's because I didn't do my research right. I was trying too much to prove my own idea versus into the market. And so I do have some of that great background. What I was missing was HR. And so the key is to start filling the gaps. Always fill your gaps. And so what I did, I realized I knew enough about databases and how to house the data that I could mock the matching on the back end by just using Excel and SurveyMonkey and Typeform and just all of these tools that are out there that are free. And we just started mocking that experience up and seeing what are the right questions we need to ask the talent to make them shine. We, that 360-degree profile you talked about, we were making it pretty in Word and then dropping it in PDF and knowing the whole time that the way we were doing it was not necessarily scalable, but we knew technology was out there that could make it scalable once we verified it was indeed valuable. And
you worked with your own your zip code, so to speak, or did you
That's exactly right. We used our community. And so it's for us. And I think so many of my friends that are founders, it's going to the people that already love you and believe in you and saying, hey, will you give me this chance? Will you make an introduction? And Birmingham is an incredible community for startups. We're very supportive of each other, really growing in that area. We've recruited a lot of people from other cities. And so people are like, yeah, I'll try it. Why not? Let's try it.
Let's try it.
Yeah.
And so that must have been exciting, though, to start getting the data, because you had it in your head. And you know, everybody, this is the part of the show where I love talking about the prove that value prop, because this is the number one reason companies fail. They don't do the research upfront about the customers. And, and even then, sidebar, doesn't mean there's a guarantee. That Venn diagram of what they say they'll do and what they do and what they pay for sometimes is like off over here. To
your point, getting it off the ground and figuring out who is that intersection, who's your ideal persona, customer persona. That was the key that really helped us grow and get attention.
Awesome. And folks, again, connect with this woman right here, Vicki Carroll, because if you need help getting your persona nailed down, she's the one who's going to help you do that. That's so important. So you used your community, you got the forms, you started pulling things together. What companies did you reach out to? And was that part of the supportive environment?
It was. Well, yes, it was. So we went to our largest companies. So we have some massive companies that do support our ecosystem, startup ecosystems, but it was still a longer sales cycle. We weren't learning fast enough. We weren't able to really kind of get through some of the, I hate to say it, but red tape that was out there. And so we decided we were going to hit small to medium-sized businesses. And so we just went to our peers and we went to other businesses. I'd stock websites of who were posting and I'd say, hey, I've got these women. Would you be willing to just look at their profile? Would you be my only ask is that you interview them, just interview them. And our stats early on were just amazing. Once they interviewed them, they just knew these women could kick some butt and could just get it done.
Delphine, this reminds me of the day. This is a long time ago, folks, when I was in banking. Like, how did that happen? That's another story. But I would come into work and I would see the gentlemen at the time, and this is before the internet, folks. So they would be having their coffee. They'd be there at 8. But they would spend the first hour and a half drinking the coffee, reading the Wall Street Journal, doing this, doing that. And I'd be like, we could get all this done and be out by 2, if we just came in, put our heads down, worked our butts off. And I think this is what you're talking about with Boulo Solutions, is that you're providing this type of platform where women can have this type of flexibility. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was almost finding that customer that was willing to be flexible. For the bigger companies, they're trying, but it's too slow for us. Right. Yeah. And so we can help be there and help educate them. But these smaller businesses understood it doesn't have to be 8 to 5. If I can get this like amazing talent and just make some accommodations, this is well worth it for me. And the women would come in and just outperform. Just it was the most validating feeling to know this value was there and appreciated.
I got to tell you, and of course, they felt like $1,000,000 too, right?
They did. They got this confidence back. They got a swagger. They were feeling themselves again. You know,
So when did you launch Delphine?
We launched, kind of launched in 2018 and did a real launch in 2019. Okay. And so we call it just kind of our test launch. Some people call it a soft launch, but it was just a test launch of putting our stuff out there, iterating. And then 2019 was when we were like, okay, we need to put a little more gas on this and see if this is worth building.
Catch those words, founders, worth building. This is the beauty of doing a beta for a while and doing what Delphine did. And I got to tell you, Delphine, one of the things that I really love about your process in beta testing, improving your value prop, your hypothesis that companies and the women, you could create a platform that there was this need, was that you called on people and said, hey, could you do me a favor? I just want you to interview them. Come on, this is wonderful. First of all, it could be some gal pals, that might be in human resources. Maybe they ask their boss, maybe they are the boss of everybody. But, going to the small and medium size, having them test it out gets you prepared for the larger firms. So thank you for sharing that. And folks, just remember that beta testing is so important because then you're adding value to your business, right, Delphine?
It does. And it gives you the words to use when you go after bigger customers. So it gives you the marketing message. It gives you your pitch. It gives you case studies. It gives you exactly what you need to hone in on getting it right.
Exactly. Oh, I love that. So launched in 2018, got all this great, rich information. How were you funding this beta stage? Were you working still or were you in Boulo 100%?
Yeah, no, I was definitely working still. So we bootstrapped it to just kind of get some of the, when we knew we were going to invest in some technology, found a great dev shop. And so we bootstrapped it. I had a partner at the time, a co-founder at the time who was in it. And so she and I bootstrapped it, but I was still working full time.
Excellent.
I'm a single mom. I'm in my 40s. I'm not your typical startup person. And so taking that risk was, it's going to look crazy. It's going to be chaos for a little bit, but we're going to power through it. And then slowly I went to, pulling out of full-time and doing contract work just to keep some stuff going. And then getting to a point where we could actually, I could get a salary enough to just keep us going.
Yeah. And folks, take that in. Side hustles are amazing. And we all know if you want to get something done, you're going to reach out to a busy woman and she's going to get it done for you. So, and Delphine, startup life is messy, no matter what. And so, you being a single mom with kids at home, juggling the job, I'm sure that gave investors even more confidence in your ability to nail this and drive this home, right? And gave you the chops.
Well, so when we started going to investors, if you are somebody who's looking to get outside investment, you read a lot of stats that can kind of get you down. And so I'd read, I'm a solo founder, ding. I'm a female, that's going to be more difficult. I'm in a small town. And so you almost go into it going, wow, like there's so much against me. And so I like delayed it. I had a goal of when I wanted it launched. I pushed it a little bit and finally I was like, you have to do this. You have no choice. So I got all my stuff together and just started hitting the streets, pulling all my connections, doing the emails, went through the Zane program to just really get that confidence in going out there and making the ask. But reaching investors as a solo founder, as a female is different. It's different. And so there's definitely some communication and some conversations where I was like, you know what, if I was a guy, you wouldn't ask me that question.
You recalled you have some stories around that?
Yeah. Well, he's a wonderful gentleman. He was trying to figure out if I had, was going to be in it for real. And he said, so Delphine, tell me what happens if your husband gets relocated and you have to move. Are you still in this? And I said, well, you know what? My husband's already moved into another city with his new wife, so we're good. And it was part of it as I wanted that shock factor to call out how they were trying to get to an answer. They asked it a little bit the wrong way. They're a wonderful person. I think now they'll know not to ask it quite that way again.
We're all educating these folks, but it's not easy. You want to look at them and say what?
I know.
You so did not just do that, right, buddy?
But then on the flip side, I got a lot of people who are like, I understand that females are underfunded, and I want to be someone to help change that. So there's a lot of great people out there that are trying really hard to help change things.
Right. I'm just going to pop up. Yeah, Vicky's putting down some really good words of wisdom. You're absolutely right. It shouldn't be about the clock. It's about action and outcome. It should always be, hey, we've got this project for you. These are the results we're looking. If you're delivering those results, do we even need to see you? Right.
It's setting those KPIs in the beginning, and then you don't have to worry about when their butt's in a seat. You don't have to find out if they're going to the doctor and all these weird personal conversations that just shouldn't be had anyway. You just know they're going to hit their KPIs.
And that's it. And Vicky, I agree with you. Folks watching and listening, Delphine's response was, mwah. She may have wanted to do a little of this and had some other choice words, but she handled it beautifully. And this is why you have to always, pitching, especially women, we have to keep bringing it back to the mission. Hey, he's moved in with this other one, he's good, we're good. And then you get back because, to why you are uniquely qualified to be nailing this business, taking it, launching it, building it, growing it, scaling it, and sharing that vision. And there's a great book. I have it behind me called First Pitch by Debbie Kleiman. I highly recommend everybody because she talks about the bias conversations that happen. There's unconscious and there's very conscious bias. He was unconscious, but he wanted to try to, put something out there, and you raised and woke him up, raised his consciousness. But Debbie talks about this. And folks, Debbie is an angel investor, but she runs Babson College's Center for Entrepreneurship. So, she really knows what she's doing. And that First Pitch is a terrific book to get, especially for female founders trying to raise the funds. So you're on this investor journey. You've proved your value prop nicely. You've got the data that you need. Now you've got your slide deck put together. How did you hear about Zane Ventures? Was it an incubator or accelerator program?
It's a capital program. And so its whole goal is to get founders ready to go get money. I had been part of a Launchpad 2X, which is a group out of Atlanta that helps women become CEOs. So the whole premise is like, be big, don't use so many exclamation points and emojis, and you're like all this stuff to try and teach you to be a CEO. That was a good program. And then Zane, I was connected to Zane through them. Zane is only for diverse candidates. And so what was super important for me with that was going out to raise money does look different if you're not in the more traditional, typical, whether it's just a young white male, whether it's, somebody who's already had 3 exits and gotten there. And so being in a room full of people and having the honest truth of this is how you can overcome some of those things and how you should have confidence in yourself. It was so strong.
Yeah. I'm pulling up everybody, multitasking on a live show, but I'm going to get I'm going to put into a banner here because I want to put it up. And the founder of Zane's name is
Shyla Burney. No, did I say that her last name wrong?
I think you did. Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah.
Phenomenal woman. Out of Atlanta,
Super.
Right?
Powerhouse. Yeah. And she has put some people behind her. She has got some massive names who believe in her and are backing her. We had Brad Feld on half of our things. I mean, he was giving great advice.
And he's the founder of Techstars, everybody.
Yeah.
And wrote the book Startup Community.
That's it. Some phenomenal books, his advice. And he even has a pitch. It's a free pitch series where you can learn exactly about docs, like all of the investment documents and all that. That's really good. But she's moved some serious mountains and got people behind her. And so they've continued to be a great resource for me, but they gave me kind of the words and the power to go out and get this done. And we did.
And this is important, everyone. What happens, Delphine, for so many founders is they go online to find a pitch deck And of course, they always end up with Airbnb. And the Airbnb.
Oh my God. That's the truth. 100% the truth.
Yeah. And the Airbnb pitch deck, it was really for that snapshot in time. Trust me, they had 5 years of hell, okay, before they got to that point where they could do that type of pitch deck. There's a flow that investors want. They, I talk about this a lot, and I've got videos on this, everybody. I can send you documents. There is a flow to your story. And you've got to be careful that you don't go flying off here and flying off there. You learned how to take your investors through that flow of information, correct?
Yes. And one of the things that Zane said, and I've actually got it stuck up on my computer, is know who you are and act like it. So you don't
Hold on. Know who you are and act like it. Everybody knows what's coming now. Oops. I did a double there. Stitch that on a pillow. Know who you are and act like it.
Yeah. So don't be Airbnb. You're not Airbnb. I need to be Boulo. And it comes with Delphine. It comes with my team. It comes with all our personalities. And so we need to get the message across that worked for us so that we were comfortable in the room when we were making those asks.
Yeah. And everybody, I don't care who you are, stepping into your authority as a founder is an ongoing challenge. And especially for women who tend to be on the people pleasing side. It's like, oh, hello. Do you mind? I'd like to raise some money, please. And you learn how to step more fully because you've been a great employee. You nailed it in your, corporate gigs, no problem. You got that nailed. But all of a sudden, the responsibility of being a founder, it's very similar to being a parent or your first time dog or kitty owner. You're kind of like, what am I doing now? What am I doing here? You have to psych yourself out into that. And we'll talk more about that later. And so what were some of the investment stories when you were going out and pitching that were a disaster? I mean, you gave me the great story with the guy who asked about the husband. Bless his heart. But did you get close on any deals and then they fall out? Like, what were some of the things that happened?
Yeah, I made the mistake. I think it was just a soft way to do it. I made the mistake of going into a ton of pitch competitions, and we just aren't as sexy as some of the other true software, like where technology is a service, or service enabled tech enabled service. I'm totally getting my words wrong. So we weren't just quite as sexy as some of the others. And so I kept getting no. And it was, it goes back to when you go out and you look for investors, look for the ones that are interested in you. And so there was a group in town called Alabama Capital Network. They help connect angels in the community. So I'm sure there's a group wherever you live. Their entire job is to get all of your details, the financials, your pitch deck, invite the right people to the room that are interested in your kind of stuff. And then you just knock them out of the water. So really, once Alabama Capital Network reached out to me and got me going, and I pitched in front of them, I had the right people. And the toughest process, I think, was to keep the momentum going. So once they said, okay, I'm in, I want to learn more. It's like a sales cycle. You're constantly saying, okay, what's the next step? Okay, when are you going to be ready? What else do you need to know? And that was putting that pressure was just like, what if they say no? Okay, what if they say no?
Absolutely. I thought I had it in my dashboard, but I don't. I'm going to have to upload that. I have a sales funnel. It really is the investor sales funnel. And keeping that momentum, what did you find that worked for you as far as keeping that momentum with them and keeping them interested? Because they could just get, it can be shiny object and off they're running off to the left.
100%, because they've got this pot that they're allocating. And if somebody else gets to them first, and that would keep me up at night. And so I didn't do it great early on. And so I learned quickly that I needed to be constantly updating them. Had a great sale today. Check out our Instagram. We're on this, they just wrote an article about it. And so we tried to stay being the shiny object in front of them and then asking for that next step. What's the next step?
Yeah, I have to tell you, that just gives me, the goosebumps and the Andy-licious moment right here, because that soft touch, just like you would with your customers on success sales and things like that, telling them, here, we met this milestone we said we were going to meet. We did it. Or, bring in the good news. Or we were faced with this incredible problem. We weren't sure what was going to happen, but we put our heads together and didn't we figure it out? Aren't we amazing? Yeah, that's what you have to do. You've got to bring out your own clappers and go, look at us. We're amazing.
Well, and that's really tough for a lot of females to do, is to brag on yourself. And I think that's what pushing myself to really be bold about it.
Yeah, I think, and again, it's showtime. You're stepping into your role as a founder. I just want to say a quick hi to one of my favorite people here, Mia Voss. Thank you for tuning in. Mia is an actionist, and she is a brand ambassador, and she's a mouthy one out there, but she and does it in such a beautiful, delicious goddess way. And she has a podcast that is absolutely worth doing, especially if you're waiting in the car line or folding laundry or empty the dishwasher or whatever. It's called Shit We Don't Talk About. And it's powerful. It's powerful information that, we need to have conversations about. But Mia does it with humor and deliciousness. It's great. So yes, the chef's kiss response to inappropriate. And Mia, I don't think I'll ever get rid of my emojis or my exclamation points because, it's the Andy-liciousness here that we have out there. But this is a fascinating story. And I love that you just kept, moving forward. Tell me about the process of onboarding the talent, because you're on the one hand, you're a B2B and that you can pretty much nail down. In my opinion, that looked like it might've been an easier one than actually getting the talent and presenting them. How did that go?
This is back to your comment earlier about marketing. If there's one thing that I feel consistently inept about and need somebody like an external resource, and we had to finally partner with somebody, is viral marketing and how to market today. The algorithms keep changing on all of the social media platforms. Google keeps changing theirs. They just had a massive change on how they did their ads. It's having somebody who knew how to do all this thing. And so they helped us find the right influencers so that when we were heading to Jacksonville, Florida, we found this great influencer who had a lot of the military base spouses. Great talent for us. And if we can help them. So it was having somebody who really educated us on today's marketing, because I swear it changes every 6 months.
I think that's why. And Vicki, you're watching. Tell me what you think. I think relationship marketing has to be part of what you do, because you cannot rely on the fickle lover nature of these platforms, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Google, whatever. They do not have your best interests at heart. And how did your relationship marketing, and you did that in Jackson, and how is that building out for you?
We did. That's actually our number one way of doing it, is by being thought leaders, creating a relationship with a group, and then it just keeps spreading. But you've got to establish that niche, whatever, it goes back to, we found who our ideal persona was for our members. And we went after that niche, and we just found people that were not even like official influencers, but people in that community that we could just start engaging through. So it was building relationships amongst the women in the communities.
And would you share, I forgot to ask this during the value prop conversation, your ideal customer is? For the people that you're bringing in who need jobs?
Yeah. On the talent, we've got both. So on the talent side, it's typically women between the age of 27 to 55. A lot of us are mothers, or we're in that sandwich generation where we're also taking care of our parents. They are educated. They, on average, have 10 years of work experience, and they are in mid-sized cities. So what we found with mid-sized cities is they have a lower cost of living, where they have opportunities when the children come to make some tough decisions. And then where they're typically there's a college nearby that leads to a ton of education. And so that's who we focused on, and we went straight for it. And it's school-age children. If the children are too young, it's a little bit tough, but school-age children was our big one. And then for our customer base, I mean, we dialed it in quickly or closely. It was small to medium-sized businesses, under 500 employees. Industry was not so big, but they had to have marketing, our key roles that we knew our talent had skills in. And so matching, we did a lot of workshops and design thinking on matching those two groups together to make sure that we were being efficient.
Tell me a little more about that when you're talking about a workshop. And
so we did a lot of, there's a online tool called Stormboard. And so what you can do is run these workshops, and I'd bring my whole team on it. And what we would do is dial into the ideal persona. What are their emotions? Like when she's coming on the platform, she's exhausted from working a full time at the bank and showing up every day, or she's really trying to find her other self that she put to bed when she started to raise the kids. And so you dial in on the emotions, what they bring to the table. And then we did it on the business side. And then we had a final exercise that kind of brought those two together. So we knew. It's really a great tool, and they've got a lot of templates to use.
That sounds terrific. I'm going to have to add that to my Andylicious resources on Pinterest. Everybody, just visit my Pinterest area. You'll find the Andylicious resources in there. But that's terrific. And I know Vicky's just sitting in her seat going, good customer persona, yay. Because you see, you have to find out what's motivating them, what's driving them. And that's their behavior and all those psychographic pieces in your customer persona, because this is the sooner you tap into how they're thinking and being in the world, you can use the right language, right?
Yes. And so that's why when we were looking for dev shops that could really get our MVP going, I was bullish about finding one that had a UI UX on the team. There are a lot of dev shops that are like, well, we've got somebody who we work with, but it has to be, you can't throw it over the wall. It's got to be somebody who's in there with them. And there's a lot of dev shops, interestingly enough, that don't focus enough on that. But that's where you'll live or die. If we create a ton of friction points on the onboarding, we're out of business.
So is your number one requirement getting the good talent on? Is that always going to be your challenge?
Mm-hmm. That's our inventory. So you were talking about your food company that you had, and you had all these ingredients. That's our special sauce. That's our ingredient.
Yeah. So bringing the companies is different. They are going to have a need, and maybe you're going to have another workshop with them to educate them and how wonderful it is to bring in. I mean, do you have videos? How do you educate the companies?
We've got videos and case studies. What's been amazing. So we used our MVP to build out our financial model. So we estimated how many emails are we sending out? How many calls will that result in? How many roles will get posted? And so when we started actually implementing our sales team, once we got the funding, we blew those numbers away. People really intrinsically are understanding that women need to get back into the workforce, that they're highly valuable, and that there's people sitting on the sidelines that they could really value, but they can't find them. 80% of people on the job boards are the exact same people, which shows you there's this layer that's just untouched.
Oh my gosh. And folks, I got to tell you, here in Boston, maybe it's in other cities, that's what they say about diverse business owners. Well, we want to bring in more diverse folks, and hire. This is our government in Massachusetts, but we can't find them. So our local Black community just went, boom. Okay, we'll fill the Boston Convention Center with them for you. Okay, would that help? I mean, seriously, sometimes there are blinders on. We can't find them. But, it's also because they're looking through a lens of a certain formula for hiring someone. And in your case, you're saying, remove those lenses and watch, take this woman and watch her soar. I mean, doesn't it take you back to the movie 9 to 5 when they get rid of the guy and Lily Tomlin says, and these two are sharing their jobs. They come back.
There's so many, but there's a Barbara Streisand movie too, where she's like, I can be a hairdresser, an accountant, and she talks about all the roles that she can be. Right. And that's it. That's our women. And once they meet them, and when we were determining our revenue model, we decided early on that we were not going to make any commitment of exclusion or exclusivity or to post, because we wanted them to give these women a chance. Yeah. Just interview them. Just try it. You can't lose anything. If you fall in love, you've just found your perfect person.
Exactly. And they can interview remotely.
Yes, absolutely. So we do part of our onboarding process. We were using Zoom before COVID made it cool because we wanted women to get comfortable with this way of working. And so we through our platform, that's right, through our platform, they can schedule the Zoom interviews.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you touched on revenue model. How do you make money?
So we charge the businesses a fee. If it's a project, it's a percent of the deliverable. If it's a contract worker or a temp worker, percent of that. We'll make the payments for the company to basically handle the payroll for some of the smaller businesses, and then also handle the contracts. And then for permanent, it's a percent of the annual salary. So some of that's traditional. We thought about, could we turn it on its head a little bit, but there's something when you're determining your revenue model, there's something to be said for just sliding into typical behavior in the beginning. Right. And then once your brand has some traction, you can try and shake things up.
Yeah. And I think that's just so important that you struggling with how you create the model, the revenue model, folks. I love that you mixed it up. And how did you do your research for that? Because we don't talk enough about pricing.
Yeah. So it's the obvious things, right? We went to all of our competitors. Most of them have their pricing. Here's a little tip, and their terms and conditions. If it's a digital tool, you get a lot of information by digging into their terms and conditions. So we did a lot of competitor, anybody that was an adjacent market. And then we also looked at what are some ways that we could try, like I said, try and do it a little bit differently, just to dream a little bigger and see if we can change things. And that's where we started. Of course, you start low to get the customers in. We weren't receiving any no's. And so we just kept raising our pricing until we started getting a few no's. And that's when I thought, okay, we're hitting close to where we want to be.
Guy, I got to tell you, everyone, I got to get an expert on pricing here just to talk about that, because it is so key. What you did is absolutely spot on.
You've got to put the pressure on it. We did do a survey early on about, what's the willingness to pay surveys. You can just Google a lot of those, but there's a lot of good ones that are out there. But it's a simple survey that said, at what point do you think we're too cheap and the quality's at risk? It's like a bottle of wine. At what point are you like, that $5 that's going to be a hangover? Or is it so much that you're like, that's too much?
Yeah. I can't comfortably drink this wine. It's too expensive.
That's right. I'm just going to stare at it.
I won't feel good after this is done. So I love that. Okay, Mia, the wine analogy. I love that for pricing. That's perfect. So my next question is, along the way, you're bringing on your team. What was the talent acquisition like to make this work?
We screwed up early on. So we brought on our team and it had zero diversity. And so we were that typical story of, we were growing fast. We found our friends and our neighbors. My neighborhood looks a lot like me. It's not super diverse. And so we chose speed over really like hunkering down and getting it done. And so once we got maybe 3 people, all of our team is made up of mothers that live a flexible life. We are made up of our people. So the dog food theory, right? Yeah. We're going to prove that you can build an incredible company with these flexible hours. And then finally, when I looked, I think I saw like a picture of all of us and I was like, this is ridiculous. We are not going to solve the problem for all women if we have a team that looks like this percent of the women. And so we, made an intentional, we will not fill this position, even if it hurts, until we know we've got somebody who's going to bring diverse thought. And I had a professional network that was diverse, but most of them were higher level. And so I went to them and begged, introduce me. I went to LinkedIn and just made crazy connections to try and just dig deeper and find the right people. And we found some amazing people. It was so good.
Congratulations.
The intentionality of it.
Yeah. And so are they local with you? Are they now around the country? How has the team acquisition gone?
Yeah, they are around the country. We've got 2 that are not in Birmingham, and then we've got 7 that are in Birmingham. But we've got a couple, especially during COVID, where they'll go work, they'll go travel to visit their kid at college and work from there. And
also you just raised a chunk of change, right? a significant amount. It's out there for everybody to know. I mean, you don't have to say it if you don't want to,
Oh,
but
I'm comfortable with it. Yeah, we raised $500,000 through a Reg D round. We did it in 3 months during COVID and the holidays. Probably not my best plan, but it worked. Great group of people that are just bought into the women, bought into what we're doing, very supportive. And we also, there was a new solution that came to town. It was crowdfunding called Vicinity Capital. The whole premise is to help founders that don't have the typical network get money from their community. And then the community is now invested in businesses locally and helping them grow. It's a cool platform.
Okay, so let me just add that to my Andy list. How are you spelling that? So I'm going to call that up.
Vicinity Capital. So they're a little bit like Republic, which is an alternative. Yeah.
Yep, that's what Arlen just used for her raise.
Yeah.
Backstage Capital.
And so it's the same thing. You apply but their premise is community building community. So they launched in South Carolina. We were their first launch in Birmingham, and they're pursuing others. But I think it's a great resource for people whose networks aren't made up of the typical.
It really is. So we have a local founder here, Asia from Trella Technologies, and she designed, developed, manufactured everything, a horizontal plant growing contraption. So it takes the plants and gets them going this way. So you use less energy, water, labor for harvesting, etc. Could not get money for nothing. Woman of color, a member of the LGBTQ community, smarty pants, great track record as an engineer and everything, had nailed all of it, couldn't get it. Crowdfunding. She used Startup Engine, but nailed it. Boom, 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 boom. And they're just whoop. And folks, I got to tell you, what the beauty of equity or Reg C crowdfunding is that you get to be an owner too for like $100, $200.
That's it. And I love that. I love my Reg D investors, but the crowdfunding investors have my heart. Like they're the ones who sat there and were like, I've got 200, I'm giving it. And they're the ones that I'm like, oh, we're going to get you money. Like you're getting something back for taking that risk. And just I don't know, there's a grit about it that I love.
I know, because they could have put it in the market. They could have put it toward, the dentist bill.
Yeah, a great dinner.
Yeah, a great dinner.
But we did get some big dollars too. So if you feel like you're hitting walls, it is a fabulous resource.
It really is. And again, you don't know who you don't know. So when you get onto a platform that's going to help you, and provided you pull everything together that you need to, and you follow their instructions, right? And their advice, that you get that marketing, get the visuals, get all the, SEC documents in place, make sure you're all buttoned up. And that's the other beauty of equity crowdfunding, is it really forces you as an owner to button up your business, right?
Yeah, I almost learned more doing that. And so I was doing them in tandem. And so a lot of what I learned through that process, because you're in it a little bit more, you're just, I don't know, learning a ton fast, was able to help me in the Reg D too.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Katerina, and be sure to put your business name and URL into the comment threads for me, okay? So I can celebrate you. But she's asking a great question, which is, how did you find the dev shop? Did you try finding a technical co-founder instead?
I didn't try to find a technical co-founder. I'm not a coder. I worked with the dev teams and led them through the roadmaps and Scrum and all of that. But I felt like I could handle that. I felt like I had enough chops that I could help. I could really run that piece of the puzzle. What I really was needing was more of somebody who had that talent acquisition, HR process stuff.
Yeah.
And that goes back to finding somebody to help you fill your gaps. And so I was okay on the technical side. I'd interviewed a couple shops, and what I said earlier is why I chose the one I did. It's because they had a UI UX person that really showed me her stuff, and I was very impressed with it.
Yeah. And you have to understand too, you may have missed this in the beginning, Katerina, is that Delphine's background is in SaaS and product development.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. So that kind of,
it helped. It did. It helped get that going. And now when we go into our AI, so we're going into career pathing and predictive algorithms. When we go into that, I will definitely have a database architect. That's really our next technical hire.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Thank you for answering that. And I know, yes, Mia, I saw that great wine analogy and thought of you. And I know, Vicky, I mean, seriously, the advice coming out of your mouth, Delphine, is so, so good. Vicky says, I love that Delphine has her persona identified, hashtag pure happiness. And yay, she is so talking my language. This is, for the podcast listeners, I read the comments out loud so that you can hear the conversation we're having. And Mia also says, we cannot solve problems for women if it only looks like this % of women. Boom is right. Mic drop, Delphine, on that. Seriously. So good. And then, of course, Vicky says, huge congrats. We all know what our women founders go through. And through COVID and holidays, you're a mom. Oh my gosh, get the Superwoman cape out. It's so good.
What was cool was that my kids were with me literally in the house through that journey, and they would, they saw me pitching at my computer. It was just a very interesting experience for them to learn as well.
Well, we think, I don't know who I was talking about this with recently, but we think, I think it was Vish who was on Tuesday talking about what he learned watching his parents as entrepreneurs. And I said, my husband and I thought we scared the, what out of our kids from ever doing anything. But you know what? As young adults, they're in the early 20s, they solve so many problems on their own. So you've taught them, you show them through how you solve problems for your business, how to do it on their own.
I think it's incredibly important. They get bought into the tough times. Like when you're saying, I can't get to that game of yours, they understand the why behind it. When I first went into this, I said, hey, our Target shopping is going to look a little bit different. We're not doing like supermarket sweepstakes when we go in. We're buttoning up. We're like having to make some financial choices, but it's helped them understand this whole journey, and hopefully it'll influence them later.
Absolutely, because it's not just about pursuing a dream. It's about being fully expressed, bringing your truest and highest self to the world. And we know this is a beautiful segue into the founder journey, right? Into when you're feeling those moments, as in your case, a divorced mom with the responsibility of 2 children's happiness and well-being and feeding your business at the same time and your team. That to me is just, it can be very overwhelming. Been there several times myself. How did you talk yourself off the ledge? How did you calm yourself down? What's a mindset hack that you can share with others regarding this wonderful, wonderful part of what I always like to call the founder journey? It can be really challenging. What did you learn along the way?
I learned to find a good therapist and have recurring appointments. And so it's true. Like I'm a solo founder. What I needed was an unbiased voice in the room to call me out on my personal bad behavior. So like my negative self-thoughts and figure out like, what are you doing that's really productive when you're going through this? Because as a founder, you're always thinking, I should be doing this better. Am I doing it the right way? And so the number one thing she identified, she told me, quit shoulding all over yourself. And I was like, excuse me? And she said, quit using should. You should spend more time with your kids. You should do more business. You should be doing all these things. She said, quit shoulding. Do what you're supposed to do and get it done. And don't put all of that pressure on you. And the other one she said was like, when those negative thoughts come through, you just look at them, wave them down like they're going by on the interstate and just say, see you later.
It's so true. I attach mine to hot air balloons. I put them all right there and go, see you, bye. Bye-bye.
That's it.
I mean, these are mindset hacks, folks. There's enough information out there that can tell you that actually works. But thank you for sharing that about the shoulding. I know there's women watching right now going, yeah, I should, we should, oh my gosh. And if you have to have, I mean, what Delphine has done is so important. This is that unbiased team person that is going to say, okay, that's not going to work. You're not going to be able to step fully into this role if you have got that kind of limiting beliefs about yourself or limiting language, negative language that you're telling yourself all day long.
Yeah, I think you asked me, you asked a question that was like, do you ever doubt yourself, or have you ever felt inadequate as a founder? I was like, when have I not? I mean, you definitely have your wins, but I think you're always thinking somebody else is doing it better than me, or somebody is more uniquely qualified. And just having somebody in your space and in your hula hoop that helps you move past that language and just can
That's
call you
right.
out on it is really
That's right.
valuable.
Stop you, kick that person off the bus. That side of us, the shadow side is important, but they don't need to be running the show. And I always like to talk about this in the framework of a good chocolate cake, right? You're mixing all the yummy ingredients in, but you got to put that baking soda or baking powder in. If you tasted that alone, ugh. But when you blend it in, then that's part of the success. So it's learning how to manage that baking soda or baking powder in your delicious chocolate cake, and so that it's blended in and not taking over. I love that advice. And, having, again, someone in our life to help us stay focused and remember, sure, as Seth Godin says, everybody, sure, it's been done before, but not by you, Delphine, and not for the people you're working with. So, and on online, we can see people, we can see their best selves, and you're like, wow, they figured that out. It only took them that long. And, you don't know what their story is.
You
And
don't
again,
know their story. Yeah.
it's your journey. And I think come on, can we just take a moment, everybody? Praise this woman like we should. Seriously, you have done a phenomenal job in a short period of time. And you, especially as Mia said, when she showed the mic moment, drop the mic moment, the fact that you were able to look at your team and say, okay, even if it hurts, we're going to make sure that we have a diverse hire, period, end of story. This is not right. How can we be the face? How can we have representation if we don't do that? That is so honest and so real. And a lot of folks need to hear that.
Yeah, you're in the heat of it. And if you don't take the time to look up, and what happened to us is all of a sudden I looked up and was like, whoa. And so just own it, move on, change
and
it.
then fix it yourself. So I'm going to tell you about, okay, thank you for bringing this up, Ekaterina. Okay, so how cool is this card? Okay, it's called Happy Galentine's Day, Andy, a lovely, beautiful handwritten note on the back. It's Significard who does this. And Ekaterina is saying, we are Significard, a startup that helps people to pick and send relatable greeting cards while supporting women, independent artists. Okay, everybody, how cool is that? Do I not love this? This is on my show every day. It's thoughtful. The note inside, that's at least a 1, maybe 2 tissue note. Seriously. It was just so beautiful.
I love that idea.
Isn't that, instead of just going, and who's got time to go hang out at CVS or, Walgreens or the Hallmark card area, which never has anything appropriate. And you're giving a independent female artist some work.
I think for team leads to send that to their team is like, hey, thank you. I know we're all working remotely and getting a card to them. I love this idea.
Okay.
Good job,
there we go.
Card.
Thank you. And this is what we do in the Startup Life Live show, folks. You have a business. We like to bring it up and think about ways that we can support you as well and give back. Now, we talked a little bit and you've woven some beautiful stories throughout about how entrepreneurship has served you and enhanced you both personally as well as professionally. Just give us some final thoughts on that.
It is a journey unlike any other. When you go into it, you go in thinking, gosh, what could I lose? And I think, financially, career-wise, there's all these things that you're like putting up, you're putting up on the line, I guess is the best way to say it. But the stuff that I've learned throughout it, I never would have had this opportunity. It's made me 10 times the human. It's made me 10 times the professional. As I was saying, I've been pushed out of my comfort zone so many times. I don't know that I have a comfort zone anymore. Like, it's just, you're constantly learning and growing. It's amazing. It's hard. It sucks so badly sometimes, but find the right people around you and it's a great journey.
Right. As Mona from Radavision said, I just try to remember tomorrow is a new day.
Living today. That's right. That's a great thing. You can get bogged down, worried about 6 months away and cash flow and all of that. Worry about today.
Worry about today. And just, taking the deep breath and really understanding and holding, who you are as a result of this experience. You never lose by being a founder, folks. So if you're sitting on the fence and going, do I start that business? Don't I? Start it. Doesn't matter. You will win. It could fail, quote, fail by traditional standards miserably, but you will not. I promise you, right, Delphine?
Oh, 100% agree. I think it'll haunt you forever if you don't do it. I had one of the catalysts for me was I had so many nights that I woke up at 3:30, 4 a.m., couldn't go back to sleep because I had this idea. And so I wasn't going to get good sleep unless I just took action and did it. Sorry, my dog's shaking.
Oh, that's
But
okay. We love
and so it's like you're going to look back on this and you'll never have peace. So just do it. You will look back on a product failure and be like, wow, I learned a ton. So just take it. Take the risk.
It's the possibilities, everybody, not the guarantee. Remember that. So I'm going to put up your wonderful, wonderful artwork here. How can we support Boulo?
Yeah. Thank you. It's technically spelled with a T, but I'm in the South and I couldn't handle people saying Boulat, so I just killed the T.
Okay, good.
It's branding.
Because you can.
And so go to post a role, boulosolutions.com/employers. Go to our website to learn more. There's no risk in posting a role, as I've said, and we find 3 to 5 profiles within 72 hours. If you are a woman who is working full-time for a company that's not allowing you flexibility, if you just want to try being a gig worker, an entrepreneur, or if you're trying to get back into the workforce, come on to boulosolutions.com/talent, start building out your profile. We'll help you along the way. We'll have a phone call and work through it. And again, that's free as well. And we'll do everything we can. We are your champions, is what we say. We're the mom's champions to the hiring managers. So we'll get you surfaced.
This is so important and so wonderful. Delphine, thank you. Everybody, you see the information down there. Email us, info@boulosolutions.com. You know, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. Our workforce needs to shift this way. And COVID 100%. Got us off to a start, but women have been kicked out of the workforce because someone had to take care of things at home. And it tends to fall on the woman. And she deserves this opportunity to work 20, 30 hours a week and bring her A game for those hours while her kids are hopefully back in school or doing other things or wherever she is in her life. Right. I mean, you can help folks usually up to 55 years of age. So that's awesome. Yep. It's so key.
And any business owners or your startup, you're trying to build your team, don't shame a man who's on your team from leaving to go do practice, from taking the kid to the dentist. Mm-hmm. So if we can get it to where it's perfectly acceptable for the man to leave the office and work remotely and flexibly as well, that frees up the women to be able to spread some of that share. And so it's truly like, embrace parenting roles. You will get a loyal person on your team who's given it their all.
That's right. And they're going to get a lot of work done in much less time. Just saying. And as we were talking earlier, it's going to be about the results, not about the hours put in. And that's the KPIs. Thank you for joining me on the Startup Life Live Show. This has been such a delicious conversation. I'm so grateful to know you. And I love it in this personal environment right here and with our friends in the comment threads, you know, saying so many wonderful things along the way. Vicki has a wonderful comment here. People compare themselves to others when each is at a different place.
That's so good. Yeah.
In their life and business. And, you know, some of us are turtles on roller skates. It is okay, everyone. And it's not always about becoming a unicorn. And another one from Vicki is today influences tomorrow and 6 months from now. So focusing on today is a good thing because of the ripple effect. Thank you, Delphine. Thank you for sharing your wonderful startup story with the Startup Life Live community. I'm going to pop you into the green room and say goodbye to everybody today for tuning in. It's just been so great. We had some great comments, great engagement, but phenomenal insight from this fab female founder and how she, I know, the alliterations, how she made this happen. And feel free to reach out to Delphine with any questions, any curiosity that you have. This is a female founder who was still, you know, she said, stepping into her authority every day, feeling inadequate. We all do. I have the TEDx talk for that. Doesn't matter how many businesses you have, there's still that level of uncertainty. Just like actors who go on the stage, they'll always tell you they're nervous in the beginning, no matter how seasoned they are. So thank you for tuning in. I can't wait to tell you who's coming on next Tuesday. Here we have Joy Carrera. So let me tell you a little bit about Joy, because she is a bundle of joy, seriously. So on Tuesday, March 30th at 1 p.m., you're going to meet Joy and learn the startup hacks you need to have more time and more money in your life, because we have way too many plates spinning in the air and not enough hours in the day or a week. And Joy has a business called Build with Joy, and she's going to be sharing her favorite tips, tools, and resources to help you streamline your business, to create more time and make more money. And here's a really cool thing about Joy. She just gets right on TikTok, shares, boom, bitty, boom, bitty, boom. She's honest about her ADHD challenges. She's honest about who she is in life, as well as how she really nails it with her customers. She's just amazing. She'll get right on IG stories too and just chat away. We're going to learn some great TikTok advice from her as well. I'm excited to have her on. So until we meet up again, I want you to remember this from A.A. Milne. You're braver than you believe. Oh, yeah. And you're stronger than you seem. And take this in. You're wicked smarter than you think, as we say here in Boston. So remember, please, that you've got this. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Can't wait to see you next time. Let me know what you thought about this wonderful conversation with Delphine in the comments whenever you watch the show. Okay? Mwah. Wishing you a delicious rest of your day.